So I just bought this 2009 Mini Cooper Clubman S for super cheap. It's got a few issues. I'm gonna run through it with you guys and let you see everything that's there. We're gonna go to the process of fixing this thing up and possibly selling it. I don't know. First thing I notice right now is the key fob looks like trash. It looks like it's missing the micro switch buttons from the inside. The buttons, actually, the rubber buttons on the outside. The rest looks pretty okay. I'm gonna try to figure out if I can repair those micro switches. If not, I'm gonna have to probably get a new key at the dealership. So the car has a check engine light on, kind of limp mode type code on there. Uh, that's the miles 102,911. I bought it with a little bit less. I had to drive it to Orlando. It's got a few things. Needs to be cleaned up for the most part. Um, Headlights are hazy. We're gonna need a new fender liner for there. We're gonna need the front valence, whatever you call it. It goes on the bottom. These rubber seals are bad. I do know that the sunroof material on the inside is separating from the rail, so I have to fix that. Pretty much missing almost all of these fender trims. Back is a little messed up there. We gotta get that repainted. It also does have a cow mooing sound when you shut it off. Take a listen. So, gotta figure that out. Steering shift knob looks like somebody was chewing on it. The antenna is pretty bad. Yeah, not looking too good. The back door, this one opens pretty good. This one makes a machine gun noise and then eventually opens. I see a little rust in here, so I'm not sure if there's some kind of water leak or something, which could be the sunroof drains or just that antenna seal that's looking really bad, because I don't see any other signs of water intrusion in the rest of the car. And the rear cigarette lighter looks to be pushed in for some reason. We'll fix that. I actually saw that the front one was a little damaged also. Fuel cap seems pretty loose in here. I don't know what's wrong with this. I don't know. Maybe that gasket looks pretty bad. It's really flat and worn out, so we'll check on that. The car smells like fuel. I did see a few drips coming down from where the fuel tank should be, so I have to check what's going on and see where that leak is from. Hopefully it's not the entire fuel tank. Seats have a little cracking here and here. Let's see. The AC has been running here for a few minutes, not working at all. Not sure what's going on with that, but I did notice that the temperature is showing as 15 degrees Fahrenheit. Not sure what's going on with that. Might be the ambient temp sensor. And these cars are known for AC not working when the ambient temp sensor is not working. So hopefully, if that is the sensor, get that switched out and we should have some working AC. So while checking the cables out here at the bottom, I had noticed there were some cables that were cut and stuff. So I did notice the ambient temp sensor is still here. But if you look at the tip of it, you can see it's been rubbed off. I guess it's been hanging while they were driving and it is damaged. So gonna need a new one of these. Hopefully that fixes the AC. So here is the new sensor installed. Let's see if this works. And there you go. The AC is working perfectly now after changing the sensor out. So these cars are notorious for having bad vanity mirrors. So I got a couple of those to throw in here. This looks like crap. If you're trying to sell a car, they pull down the visor. It looks like that. It looks like the car was never even taken care of. So these just snap in. So I'm gonna get these both in there now. So here I thought this was gonna be a really easy job, and for some reason, as usual, some of the easiest jobs, or at least some of the jobs you think are going to be the easiest, turn out to be pains in the neck. So here I was taking off I wasn't really supposed to take the whole visor off, but I took it off because I just couldn't see what I was doing in there to get it clipped in. So then I went ahead and removed the other side to see if I could get a better view of what I needed to do. And then I was actually able to see where the clips were on the other side. And then I went ahead and installed the visor, and they're both in there looking good now. So I'm going to work on repairing, or trying to repair, those cracks in the seat there. You see them on the bolster down there and up here also. So let's see how that goes. So I'm done with the side here. You can see it still has a little bit of adhesive on the edges I have to remove. It's looking way better than that. So I just need to get another piece of this material and fix up this side of the seat. You can see here. I mean, the farther away, the better it looks, but it does cover up those tears in the seat like that. Just got to the rear lighter back here. Luckily I found this in the back here, so I think just needs to snap back on so we can get it into that hole. Let's see. So I really struggled trying to get this power point into the side panel there. For some reason it looked really simple, where I can just pop that cover over the outside, but it really was not that simple. I would put it in there and then it would pop out when I would try to put the panel back into place. And here I finally got it in. I was able to put the panel back and get the rubber seal back into place. So now we're done with the rear. Let's go ahead and do the front. Actually took a lot longer than it should have. So the front one wasn't difficult at all to get in. No issues here. I'm just going to go ahead and work on that rear door lock now and see if we can get that fixed. Looks like we're going to have to take this piece of plastic off here to get to that lock. So I'm pretty sure whenever this water got into the back, it ruined this little motor here. Machine gun sounding thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and replace this. See if that fixed the issue. Just replaced the motor. It's in there now. Let's see if this thing works. There you go. Fix. So before we finish up the back, we have to replace this rubber piece that somehow goes on here. And this reflector is missing also, so we have to replace that. And there you go. Rubber's installed. Reflector's installed. So I'm going to go ahead and swap out this antenna. That's going to take a little bit of work. I have to take some of the headliner down, but before that I want to swap this emblem back here, which you can't even see the mini logo on anymore. So we'll get that done, and then we'll get the antenna done. Okay, so here I am trying to replace the badge in the back, and I went through all this work, and in the end I noticed that it was the wrong badge, so I had to order another one, and it arrived pretty quick. And here I am removing part of the headliner to get the antenna off. It was a lot more work than I thought it was going to be, but I was able to get the antenna installed and change out the badge. Now you can see finally got the badge in, and The antenna has been installed. Had to take some of the headliner out and put it back in, but it looks really good now instead of that cracked antenna. So I didn't record an introduction for this, but I'm basically just changing out the front grille that was cracked, and after that, after I got that installed and looking good, I went ahead and installed the wipers on the windshield and on the back hatch. So that is done now. So we're just gonna get these replaced. I'll do both sides. I'll probably only show one. Just two Allen bolts here. Take it out, replace the gasket. We're done. There you go. It's not an OEM gasket, so it doesn't cover all the way in. What you need to do is just cut around the inside part and leave the original gasket to seal the upper part, because that usually isn't bad because it doesn't get sun or anything. So you just put this on there, line it up, and it goes in, and it looks really good. Looks better than what was there. So now both are done. They look good. On to the next thing. So we need to replace this panoramic sunroof sunshade thing. You can see it's broken here. Have a new one, so we're gonna have to take out a few bolts, get the sunroof out, replace this, put it all back together, and then we should be good there. So we got all 6 T25 bolts out on both sides, and we should be able to just get this out of here now. See? So I'm just gonna remove this, set it aside, and then we can start at removing this broken sunshade and replacing it. So you can see where these sunshades go bad. They have this metal spring kind of piece in here that just undoes itself. You can see the other side is bad also. So the new one comes coiled up in here. So once we get this replaced, this should be good to go again. So after trying to get the sunroof to work correctly, now I'm getting a sunroof fault every time I turn on the car, and now the sunroof won't do anything at all. So I checked the switch is working perfectly. I can see it opening and closing in my reader, but hopefully it's just the motor. I'm about to take that out, and then we'll see if it's the motor or not. So I tried to bench test it, but I couldn't figure out the pinout. So I got this good working motor, plugged it in here, and now when I twist this, when I hit the button, you can see this motor actually works. So it was the motor that's bad. I'm just gonna replace it right now and get this thing working so we can continue on with other stuff. So you can see the sunroof is going up, but for some reason it's still binding in the back. So in order to get it to open, I have to put pressure up on the back portion of the sunroof. So I am going to just leave that alone for now, do some other work, and then come back and see maybe this is misaligned and that's why it's kind of binding or it's not free. So we'll check on that after we get some other stuff done. Okay, so I removed the fuel tank covers underneath the seat, and it looks like this side is leaking, pretty dirty. So we're just going to swap this out. In order to do that, we need to remove this side also, because we have hoses that go from that side to this side and they connect. So we have to remove both of them. Here we go. All right, so I got the fuel filter in, so that should take care of that leak. So the mooing noise we have is this part right here. Oh, where'd it go? This part right here. I was gonna change it from down here, but since it looks like there's some kind of coolant leak from underneath the manifold, the intake manifold, I'm just gonna go ahead and take the intake manifold off and make my life a little easier, and at the same time check if there's any other oil leaks, because it looks like I thought it was just the drain plug, but it looks like it may be the oil pan gasket. But then I see a little bit of oil a little bit farther up from the oil pan gasket, and that could just be from blowing back while driving. I'm not sure, so I won't know until I take the intake manifold off, so let's get that done. So here I'm removing the air filter box and hoses and lines and stuff, just to get a better look at what the air intake manifold looks like so I can remove it. So I thought there was a crossover pipe somewhere underneath the manifold, which I saw a video. They kind of explain you have to take the manifold off and replace the pipe that goes from the passenger side all the way to the driver's side of the engine. But I don't see anything there. I do see the part that I said we need to change out for the wastegate vacuum part, which is right, let me see. It's not good. Which is this right here. This part right here. Just need to get that out. I don't need to take the whole manifold off for that. I can see it right there. It looks really clear. Now, on the coolant leak, this right here, these are the heater hoses. See how they go into the firewall back there, and then here they kind of meet up at the, I guess, thermostat housing or the water pump. Yeah, the thermostat housing down there. These are the heater hoses right here, and then if you look underneath it, let me get the flashlight. You can see some brown stuff down there. You can see it, but it's leaking. As you can see that all that reddish stuff right in between there, that's the coolant. Actually, they were using the wrong coolant. They should be using BMW blue coolant. They were using orange coolant on this car. So yeah, these hoses need to be replaced. So let's get that done. So it looks like the car does have a really bad coolant leak up top. I went on the internet, looked into what the coolant leak could be, and apparently there's a crossover tube from the water pump to the thermostat housing, and I can't see it, so I'm going to take out the intake manifold, and that's going to help me change the turbo converter vacuum pump thing out. Anyway, so, and we probably can get a better look at what oil leaks we have in the car. Let's do this. So now with the intake manifold out, I don't see the crossover pipe. I'm gonna keep looking. Maybe this model doesn't have it. But the coolant leak is still down there. Can't really see it now, but yeah, there's a coolant leak right underneath the thermostat housing. So anyway, I'm just gonna switch out the thermostat housing anyway, just to be safe. And probably when I take it out, I'll be able to see if there is a crossover pipe. And here's a look at the vacuum wastegate converter thing that I gotta switch out. So I'll just get that done now while this is all out. And for the oil leaks, I don't know. I mean, that oil just came out when I removed the intake manifold. So I'm not really worried about that. I'll clean this up and see what it looks like better. But you can see up here, there's oil around the valve cover gasket, so it's all over. So I'm just gonna swap that out. It's all up here. I don't know if it's just the previous owner, when they were changing the oil, just got oil everywhere, or if the gaskets inside here are all bad or something. But either way, I'm gonna swap those out anyway. It's a quick job, and see if that stops one of the oil leaks, because I do know that at the bottom, I know it's leaking from the drain plug for sure, and I'm sure that the oil pan gasket is leaking, so I got the gaskets for that too. So I'm just gonna swap everything out and see if we can stop the bleeding. So I got it swapped out. The smaller vacuum line, when I took it off, was pretty loose. So I put a tie wrap around that. The other one's pretty tight. Plug is in. Just go ahead and wait till we get the intake manifold back in to go ahead and check if that fixed the mooing noise. So I did find where the crossover pipe is at. It's underneath the head, down in there. So I looked at it. It's not leaking. It's actually leaking from the thermostat housing. So I'm gonna start taking that off now. All right, so I'm about to install the thermostat housing, and you can see that the new thermostat housing came with a temp sensor. But I'm going to switch over the old temp sensor to the new thermostat housing, because this one was working fine, and I've only heard bad things about these aftermarket temp sensors. Okay, so I went to add coolant thinking everything was done with the thermostat housing, and boom, coolant everywhere. And I usually don't do that. I'll usually throw water into the car first to check for leaks, and this time I did not, because I was super confident that everything was good. But now that I take a look, the crossover pipe is back here. You can see the front piece of it snapped off, so there should be a gasket here and a little bit more of plastic, and that is gone. So we gotta replace this now, which is not too bad. I mean, everything else is already installed. All I have to do is I loosened everything up on the thermostat housing again, and was able to get this out. So we'll go ahead and replace that now, which is I probably should have done anyway, knowing that these things fail all the time. So let's just replace that. So I'm gonna install the water crossover pipe now, and then tighten up the thermostat housing, and then we should be done with that. Then I can install the intake manifold, and then we can start her up and see if everything's been fixed. And then hopefully the limp mode will be gone, hopefully. Almost there. New filter installed. I'm gonna install this cap, the hose, and then I'm gonna try to start this one up. All right, everything's back together, and let's try to fire this thing up and see how it runs. So here I am going back underneath the car, trying to take a look at this oil leak, see what needs to be done. I know the drain plug is leaking, or I think it's leaking, and then I know the the oil pan is leaking also, so I'm gonna go ahead and work on those two things and see if we can make sure these are the only oil leaks we have. Go ahead and get this oil out of here so I can start taking down the oil pan. This thing has 2 gaskets on it. Why? I wonder it was leaking. Plus they tightened the hell out of it. Well, the good thing is this drain plug is magnetic, and when I pulled it out there was no particles on it, so that's a good thing. Alright, so let's get to removing this oil pan. So I think I found the reason for the oil leak in the oil pan. I mean, it's obviously leaking everywhere, but once you have a weak point, it kind of just messes everything else up. Underneath here, it looks like they tried to do it once before, but there is a, let's see if you can see it, that bolt right there is loose. They never tightened it. Of course it's going to start leaking, and then once it starts leaking through there, the whole gasket just loosens up. So I was able to get all the bolts out. There was actually 2 of them that were loose. I mean, like, they were like, I could twist them off with my hand without even using a ratchet. But see, this is in the way of those 2 bolts that were there, so I might have to take this exhaust pipe down so I can torque them correctly. And that's 100% the reason this thing was leaking from underneath there. So now I'm just going to take that oil pan down. So after trying to pry this thing out for the last 5 minutes, it didn't move, didn't budge at all. Now that I take a closer look at it, the previous owner appears to have used RTV instead of a gasket. So now this whole thing is RTV'd, like really RTV'd up in there. So I have to figure out a way to take this out without bending the edges of the oil pan. You see the RTV right here. I mean, I have the gasket for this. It cost me about 15 bucks. This is gonna be fun, cleaning up all this RTV with a little razor blade, making sure we get it all out of there. I mean, I'm not sure if there's any places that need RTV, but usually with oil pan gaskets there isn't. It's usually with the valve cover gaskets. So I'm just going to clean this beautifully. So I got all the RTV off of the oil pan. Took a lot longer than it should have. You can see that oil pan has these grooves in here for the gasket, and that was full of silicone RTV, and I had to scrape that all out. And I cleaned the bottom of the engine also. So I'm just gonna go ahead and install that now. So installing the new gasket wasn't difficult at all. I mean, you can see it's a super small oil pan. So I got that in there, checked around. I didn't add any oil, but there were no oil leaks at the end. So I thought I would just go ahead and add some oil and call it a day. But as you can see, the oil pan drain bolt is leaking. You can see it right there. Hopefully when I add the new gasket, that will correct that. All right, drain plug is replaced, and I tightened it down a little bit more than I should have, just to make sure it was tight. Not anything crazy, but just enough to be positive that it is tight. And so far, no leak. You can see the old drain plug, and it was kind of worn off here. So yeah, good thing we got that changed out. You don't want to be driving down the road and not knowing why your car's making noise and leaking oil. So here I'm just adding some oil so we can make sure the car's not leaking anymore from the oil pan or the drain plug. Now we're gonna go ahead and work on the valve cover gasket and get that done. So all the oil is in now. Just gonna leave it there for a little bit and check if it leaks anymore. If it doesn't, great. If it does, then just gotta figure out why it's still leaking. Now we're gonna get to taking out the valve cover to replace that gasket. Also, I'm not sure where it's leaking from, but if you look at this, there's oil all over the place. So hopefully we can fix this. I'm hoping it's not this here. I don't know. We'll find out, because I see oil all over the place, and I'm trying to figure out how would it get all up here. But hopefully, I mean, if it needs the gasket, great. If it doesn't, then it has a new gasket for the new owner anyway. And if I could get this back on in the right position, that would be awesome. There we go. All right, let's get to it. So I forgot to hit record when I was taking the bolts off of the valve cover. It's not that important anyway. This is not a tutorial, but I did notice when I was taking off the bolts that the two bolts in the middle were missing. So hopefully that's where the oil is leaking through. I'm not sure why it's missing, but yeah. Let's get this off. I'm gonna take the spark plugs out first, and then we'll see. Actually, I still got this 8mm here, and then the 10 underneath to take out. So I don't know if you noticed when I was recording, taking these out, this one here was actually hand tight. I took this out with my hand, and then these were missing. I don't know why. Hopefully the threads weren't messed up and they messed this whole thing up. If not, I'll just have to tap that and see what we can do there. And then also, this looks a little damaged here. I don't know what they did to this. How did you damage this? It's lifted. So I'm gonna see if the gasket goes around that and doesn't touch it. If it does, then I'll just leave it alone. But if the gasket does touch that, I'll just sand it down, try to make it a little flatter. And then if you look into that hole there, you can see that the other ones are kind of dry. Well, they are dry. And that one that has the pitting or the cuts or whatever you want to say is full of oil. So I'm pretty sure the leaking was from there and from these two bolts being missing. So that's the valve cover gasket. I have not torqued anything down yet because I can't find my 1/4-inch torque wrench, but I'll do that later. I'll do that off camera. I just snugged everything down in the correct sequence. And then I'll go ahead and torque everything correctly. Looks good. Try to clean it up as much as possible. I'll clean the engine when I'm done with everything. Alright, so this is on. Oil pan gasket is on. Need to reinstall the intake manifold now. So one thing I'm 100% sure of was I did record replacing this fuel pressure sensor, and for some reason I can't find the footage, but if you look at the codes right there, I had one for the DME and one for the sensor. This is what had the car in limp mode. I was pretty scared thinking I would have to replace the DME, but I went on a few forums and on Facebook, and people told me to swap out the fuel pressure sensor and then clear the codes and see what happens. So that's exactly what I did. I got a new fuel pressure sensor, and then I went ahead and cleared the codes, and then everything was beautiful. The code never came back for the DME. It was only the fuel pressure sensor that was bad. All right, everything's back together, and let's try to fire this thing up and see how it runs. So I just erased the codes and everything is fine now. I guess it was just stored in the memory. So I'm gonna do a quick run to McDonald's and see how it drives. But everything's sounding good. I actually heard the turbo spooling up right now. Let's see. Oh yeah, this is way better. It was not even shifting good before. Now this is perfect. Everything is done on this side. I'm gonna go ahead and install the fender liner and then do the other side. And there you go. First fender liner is installed. So while trying to get some of the surface rust off of the brake disc, I did notice that they had painted these calipers black with spray paint, so it kind of scraped off. So I'm just gonna get rid of this and leave it bare metal, and I'll do that on the other side. So that's looking a lot better. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and take the passenger side wheel off and do that also. It should look nicer with the rim. Since the rims are black, you'll actually be able to see the caliper in the background. So now we're gonna go ahead and clean up these headlights. I had kind of started this one. You can see it's kind of sanded down. This one's still yellowish. So I'm gonna start with the 3M kit now, see how that one works. I've never used it before, but hopefully these headlights come out nice and clear. So here are the finished headlights. Looking really good there. The fog lights are a little dirty, and I'll get those after these dry up. This is what the car is looking like right now. You can see all the fender flares, everything's on. So the fender trim is all done. See that? And I polished parts of the car, not the whole thing, and then waxed the rest of it. Did a little bit of touch-up paint on the silver. And here's where we're at right now. You see the headlights looking real good right now. What we're missing is the front valence. So the front valence finally arrived. Try to get that on, which is actually the last piece to finishing this car. So the front valence is in now. I haven't added the clips, but I'll add those now and then clean it up and see how it looks. So now valence is cleaned up, polished, and I touched up the side view mirrors a little bit there, make them look a lot newer. Um, Other than all these leaves and stuff like that, I'm just gonna wash this, polish up anything I think needs to be polished, polish the wheels, the tires, and this thing is ready to go. So here's a quick pic of the car when I first bought it. Just gonna show you a pic of what it looks now and what it cost to fix and how long it took me. So here's a pic of the car when I was done. I'm gonna go through what it cost me, how long it took me, and how much I ultimately sold the car for. So here you can see the breakdown of all the parts that I purchased. You can see that I bought the car for $1,000, and in parts I spent about $1,200, $1,233 with 68. I ultimately sold the car for $4,000. So in profit, I had $1,766 and 32 cents. All right, well, that's the build. And thanks if you made it this far. Please go ahead and subscribe, like, and come back for next videos. I mean, I have a lot of project cars. I just started with this one because I got it super cheap, and I was like, well, I can flip this one. I really wasn't thinking about keeping it. So you know, I have a CRX build in the works. I have 2 motorcycles I'm working on. I have some other cars that I'm working on. So go ahead and subscribe and come back in the future, help me out, and I'll have more stuff for you guys. Thanks.